So I did my bachelor's at the University of Buffalo, and my major was computer science, and I minored in psychology. Um, Now I'm currently doing masters at Georgia Tech, and it's fully remote, asynchronous. Um, that's why I'm working full time as well for the government as a software engineer. So in high school, I took geology. Um, so in New York State, geology is one of the regions you have to take. So I got introduced to those earth science, some biology stuff as well, and that's what made me interested to take environmental science. So I took the AP environmental science in high school, and we did a lot of projects that was very interesting. Also, I was part of the Envirothon competition, and my team came second in the entire New York City. So we did pretty well in the competition, and um, and yeah, and it's a very interesting topic because it's not only gonna affect us. Whatever we do is not only gonna affect us, but also the next generation. So, you know, taking care of the climate change, taking actions to mitigate that is very important for us, also for our children and their children and so on. So yeah. So in high school I remember the sustainable energy project that we did. We had to come up with the you know we had to come up with the most efficient solution about for the sustainable energy. So I remember I was for the windmill back then, even though doesn't matter whatever you choose, everything has pros and cons. Like solar panels, it takes a lot of space. It requires a lot of space, and in countries like Norway, Switzerland, where it rains a lot, solar panel won't be that effective in that area. Same with the wind energy. If you are in Saudi Arab, then I mean, yeah, Saudi Arab, then the windmill might not be the most efficient one. So it depends where you are. And for me, it was the wind energy for the part of New York City I was in. I was in the Bronx, just between the Bronx and Manhattan border. So I did a lot of research on it, and we had to come up with the entire solution about how the windmill can be, built. Also, how it's gonna help us in that area. Mm, what part of the windmills I found the most interesting? So the area I used to live in, we had a lot of water bodies, like like lake area. So having the windmill over there could help the ecosystem, also the aquatic life as well, because of the coral reef. It could build up under the windmill and stuff. Also, there wasn't too many birds in that area, so we thought having the windmill over there wouldn't hurt, you know, the birds as well, and it's gonna give us sustainable energy too for that area specifically. So, so let's say you're doing machine learning. So with machine learning and all those climate data, it could predict the climate of a certain place, of a certain region. So as a machine learning engineer, it could do that. And there are so many other stuff you could do as a computer scientist in environmental field. Um, for example, using database, like doesn't matter like where you work, you need to store data, especially in this generation, because everything's online. So even as a software engineer, you could work on the database and maintain the weather, climate, and bunch of data. Yeah. Yeah. So you could use the previous data and compare how it's different than the previous one. So let's say if you compare the last 25 years of climate data of, let's say, Washington, D.C., right? And it could kind of predict how it's going to look like in the next 2, 3 years. So being a machine learning engineer and using those data, it could, you know, predict how that climate is going to look like. But when it comes to weather, yeah, when it comes to weather, it actually, it depends on the humidity, the air pressure, and other stuff. Because the weather is just it's based on a small data, like it's unpredictable in times. But the climate, it's based on a huge data. It's based on a longer period of time. So it's gonna be easier for a computer scientist to work with the data and come to a conclusion. Um, Yeah, recently I read an article about the windmill. So back in the day, I thought the windmill has to have a strong base, concrete base in the water, right? And yeah, and it is very costly. But a few weeks ago, I read a article saying that the windmill, there's a new technology that floats, the windmill floats on the water. So it doesn't it's very like cost efficient. It's easier to transfer the energy, and it doesn't hurt the aquatic soil. So I found that very interesting. And yeah, and I don't have any other question. Yeah.